We're here with Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America. It's an honor to be with you, Larry. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me with you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's happening now in the gun rights movement. What's the situation? Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Where do we need to focus? And what are the threats?
Well, we've suffered a defeat with the passage of the omnibus spending bill, which means that the infamous bump stock has been banned by the Congress. They don't have constitutional authority to ban a firearm accessory, and more politically significant, they felt that it was necessary to take a curtsy to people who will never support them ever at all. And that was, I guess, not terribly surprising, but still it was not pleasant to see it happen. We still have some hope of enacting a national concealed carry law, which would mean just like your driver's license can be used in any state you travel to, so your concealed carry permit would be valid in any state you might travel to. That would be a tremendous boon to the right to keep and bear arms, and it would be one more empirical proof that gun control is stupid, not to mention unconstitutional.
So the NRA has been getting a lot of flack lately. I'm sure you've seen there's billboards up in Florida now calling them a terrorist organization. What do you make of all this, and what's the future of all this?
When you say the NRA getting a lot of flack, my first thought was, from disappointed gun owners, because those are the people that have been coming to join us lately. It's increased our membership almost exponentially. So for the NRA to get flack because they have taken some pro-Second Amendment positions is somewhat amusing. But nevertheless, I don't think they're going to stray too far. They're not going to wilt too much under this criticism, because that's what the members of Gun Owners of America are supporting us to do. They want to make sure that the right to keep and bear arms has a robust representation in the Congress, and when the Constitution says, the Bill of Rights to be precise, shall not be infringed, it means just that. And all these gun laws that we've had in the last century and up until the present are unconstitutional and should be erased from the federal law books.
And so how do we go about doing that? I mean, how is it that we need to protect our gun rights? What's the most viable strategy or strategies in your opinion?
Well, if we the people don't insist that our representatives and senators conform to that point of view, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen by itself. The default position for most politicians is to drift to the center of the road and to kind of balance the furs and the agains and kind of proceed down the middle of the road. And unless they hear from people who don't find that acceptable, they're going to continue to do that. So we need to be mobilized, and we need to take to heart the words of the late Senator Everett Dirksen, a one-time Republican Senate Majority Leader, that when I feel the heat, I see the light.
Okay, interesting. And so at least the way the media is framing this, all the young people are now totally brainwashed against guns. They're out protesting, and they're going to be the next generation of voters, and any pro-gun congressman is going to be fired. Is that a realistic narrative? And on top of that, what are we doing to reach the young people with the importance of the Second Amendment?
Well, it's a dream that the media has. It's certainly not a reality. They've studiously avoided reporting on Parkland students that were very opposed to increase in gun controls. And it just is one more indication of the dishonesty of so much of the American media. The fact of the matter is that there's probably at least an even split among the students at Parkland regarding whether more gun control is a good idea or not. There's a fellow by the name of Kyle Kashuv, if I'm pronouncing his name right, who has become a very articulate proponent of the right to keep and bear arms. And you hear virtually nothing about this young man or the many students who also support him. So it seems to be just one more lesson that for American constitutionalists, American conservatives, for many Republicans, to take one word seriously that comes from our media is a big mistake. If they told me that Donald Trump did something right today, I'd question it, even if he did something right, because surely they were misreporting it. They intentionally mislead on everything, and for us to rely on them as a primary news source, nay. There are so many places on the internet we can go to for more reliable news. We're making a big mistake to fill our heads with their kind of nonsense.
Excellent. And so we're here in Spokane, Washington at the Red Pill Expo. You gave a fantastic talk today. Could you just tell the listeners a little bit about what you were saying and tell us also what you think about the Red Pill Expo so far?
Well, I'm flattered to hear such a rosy description of my remarks, but essentially I was giving a presentation that any of the founders would have said, well, yeah, that's what we were doing. I wanted to present the idea that the Second Amendment and the whole Constitution, the whole Bill of Rights, is deliberately designed to restrict what government can do, not restrict what we the people can do. And the Second Amendment seen in that context is not just the gun amendment, it's the restriction, one of the many restrictions on government amendments and provisions of the Constitution. So the founders were definitely trying to structure things so that the drift toward big government and tyranny, which they saw through history, and if you read their writings, they were so aware of how Athens or Rome would start out with a limited government model and end up as a tyranny, that they didn't want to see the same thing happen here. They tried to prevent it with the structures they gave us, but I think they too realized that unless our heart remains firm, our convictions remain dedicated to that notion, it's not going to happen. When Ben Franklin, who was hardly a believer, was asked, so, Mr. Franklin, what have you given us? Well, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. And that's really the challenge. It's been the challenge throughout the time that we've been an independent country. It's a limited constitutional government if we can keep it. And if we don't want to keep it, guarantee you nobody else wants to have us keep it.
And so one of the many things people can do to help keep it is to join Gun Owners of America. How do they do that, and how do they keep up with everything you guys are doing?
If you go to gunowners.org for free, you can get on our email alert list, and that lets you know pretty much on a weekly basis what's going on in the Congress, and we'll write email that you can send off to your congressmen and senators so that they know what you want and what you don't want. And we have found that increasingly makes a difference, as members of Congress have been telling our staff when they're up on the Hill, your email are loud.